Hello. It's been a while, friends. Um, Not that I have not been trucking along in my journey to finish the prophets. I am almost there. I'm actually getting ready to start the book of Esther. Then I have to finish Ezra and then Nehemiah. There's a psalm in there, Malachi, and then that takes me into Luke 1 and John 1. So I'm almost finished, but I'm backtracking a little bit for this video because I really loved the book of Daniel, and given the situation in our country right now and my interest in politics, Daniel really was a book that I took a while to get through because I was really thinking about it. Because you have the story of a Jew who is in captivity, chosen to be part of a royal household of the captors, and who thrives as a politician in this setting without compromising his dedication to God. But we have where they refuse to eat the king's food, and they end up being just as healthy and prosperous as the other captives. Then there's a dream sequence where Daniel interprets a dream. And then there is the story of the three Hebrew boys being cast into the furnace. And then there is there's another dream. As I was reading Daniel, I was like, man, this is so much like Joseph, where his like movement through the government in Egypt from a prisoner to second in command was really dependent on his ability to interpret dreams. And I just thought that was really, I just think that's so interesting because now, it's like today when we think about interpreting dreams, we do, like I do know that I hear people talk about having a dream or a vision, and God gave me a dream. But usually when people are like trying to interpret dreams, it's seen as some sort of like something you go to a fortune teller for, and it's totally like looked down upon. But it was like a real important function. And I wonder if now, amongst our political leaders, if God is like giving dreams that they don't understand, and if there just really aren't people to interpret them, and that's why things are crazy for us, or if it's just not a way that God works in our world today. The famous story of the handwriting on the wall. And this one really, really stuck out to me because after each great miracle, after the interpretation, the king is like, praise be to God, the God of the Jews, or the one true God, or whatever. They really, they give the honor to the God of the prophet. We don't get a lot of in between. It really just goes from story to story. So maybe the dedication falls off. That's why we have a renewal of the story. But I thought it was so interesting in chapter 5. This is the story where the king is like reveling. He's having a party, declaring like how awesome he is. And the hand writes on the wall, and Daniel interprets it as, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. And the king hears this destruction prophecy, and immediately Daniel was clothed with purple. A chain of gold was put around his neck, and a proclamation was made about him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that really just struck me so hard because if you think about back, it's like Jeremiah just keeps standing in my mind. The things that the people of God did to Jeremiah when he was trying to prophesy to them, their own destruction that they knew would be coming for many, many years. They locked him up, tried to kill him, and here Daniel is in the court of the captors, like the oppressors, the bad guys. He's telling them that their days are numbered, and he's like, yes, let you, you have performed a miracle by interpreting this. And just the ability of the non-believer to understand the sanctity of the act of prophecy, that he wasn't even distracted by the content, which was his destruction. But he was so, he understood like the significance and the power of God working, that if someone could have that happen through them, he wanted to reward them and have them in a high place in his kingdom. And it says, that very night the king was killed. He didn't even like live long enough. Immediately the prophecy was fulfilled, but he recognized the power, and I just thought that was so interesting because his one instance of being like targeted doesn't even come from the actual like leader. It's his peers who get jealous. They trick the king, who loves him, into this decree. The king doesn't even realize he's kind of led by his pride in himself, or he doesn't realize the consequences. When he realizes he's made a decree that's going to put Daniel in danger, he's really, really upset, because he doesn't have any problem with Daniel's relationship with God or Daniel's faithfulness. But because he has made this law, he's kind of bound by that. And he puts Daniel in the lion's den, but prays that, he says, may your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you. Like, he has to follow through, but he hopes that God will fix his mistake, right? And of course God does. He shuts up the mouths of the lions. The king races, to the tomb, and finds that Daniel is alive, and throws in the bad guys who tricked him. And there's this beautiful little like song that the king writes, a little like poem almost, in the end of chapter 6, and it says, so this Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. And then it kind of goes into this weird, where Daniel starts having the weird dreams, kind of like Ezekiel, but they seem a little bit more like you can picture them a little easier. But it's interesting because Daniel starts appearing in the text as a person, and he's like, the end of chapter 7, here is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, and my color changed, but I kept the matter in my heart. And it really, I think the books of the prophets do a great job of showing us the troubles that the prophets have amongst their communities. Just that they don't have an easy life, that they aren't easily accepted. People think they're weird. People think they're evil. People think they're seditious, that they're traitors. But I like these, it does it a couple more times. It gives us this glimpse into Daniel's like mental state, where he says like, I was anxious, my color changed. It really weighed on him. And Daniel's prophecies run really long. It was really interesting. There's a really big section where Daniel he has the prophecy of like the statue with the different color, like different types of metals that it's made out of, and it represents the kingdoms that will come. And I found this really interesting page that kind of goes through the history of like the different empires, like historically, that happen, and how they match up to the vision that Daniel gave. So he has this, I mean, how could he know? He just knows God is kind of like giving him these visions of prophecy of the destruction of kingdoms. And I think Daniel is an interesting book because also sometimes we're asked to do things that we just really don't understand the full extent of, or we can't really explain, but we're just maybe setting the stage for something. We're a vessel for a message that will not be understood fully by us. It'll be understood later, after. And I think just how much is asked. It's not a prophecy. It's not a calling or a function in the kingdom that has the immediate results that people like to have. Even for a pastor or a preacher, you can often see the results of your words like immediately. Not that there aren't long-term, you plant seeds and things happen longer down the road, but you have more opportunity, it seems, to see change now. Teachers, the different gifts, or callings or ministries, whatever we want to call them. But what I think has really struck me about the prophets at this point is that they do not, almost all of them have parts of their, like, large, significant parts, like, that they just don't know. So how can you ever be sure that you did the right thing? Because you can't tell if it came true or not. Or, and I think that, a lot of them have, probably Ezekiel the least, but they do have moments, of validation. Daniel does get that, where, he makes these choices. The lion's den is obviously a huge miracle for him, where he knows God is protecting him and he's on the right track. But it is tempered with these requirements of faith that God is using him, or God is using them, all of them, for things beyond their comprehension and beyond what they will ever actually be able to see in fulfillment, which is just, I guess, as someone who likes to know the outcome, is a little bit something, a part of the maybe prophetic ministry that I would not like to be a part of, because I want to know what's happening, and I want to see the the results. Why is that for me? Do I want to see? I guess because it is selfish of me, probably, right? I want to see the results, not because I did it, but yeah, maybe because, just to make sure that I was right. Do I need to see the results of my efforts because I don't trust God? Because I'd say it's to make sure that I was on the right track, right? Like, I want to make sure I did it right. So if I can see that it turned out properly, then I know that I did it right. But the truth is, it's not really about me. If I think about it, it's because I want to make sure that God is really real. Maybe I want to make sure of the results because I want to make sure that, I can trust God and not make a fool of myself in the future. So yeah, what a hard, I don't know. Yeah, thanks for following along, and see you next time in the journey through the prophets.